Enjoying Life Over the Road, a community that champions adventure, innovation, and well-being.
Welcome to Enjoying Life OTR. My name is Cindy.Tunstall, and I'm your host. Got some great news to share with you today. You know, I have a website. It's called elotr.com. It stands for Enjoying Life OTR. It's a social network that's designed for truckers. So I wanted a place where we could record our favorite stops, make suggestions to other drivers who might be passing through, or share some sightseeing adventures that we've been able to do, something fun when we were on our break. Anyway, just ways to connect with other drivers who are enjoying Life OTR. So check that out. But this week we've launched an app. It's free. There's no cost to you. So wherever you download your apps, you could sign up. It's Enjoying Life OTR. So check that out. If you haven't already registered, sign up as a user, and maybe you record some of your favorite stops. I'd love to hear some of the favorite things that you like to do when you're over the road. Maybe favorite restaurants, places with great truck parking, or great sightseeing adventures, whatever, something fun to share, or just to connect with other drivers. Anyway, so hop on there, share some stuff, and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. Okay, also, we have a great show today. My guest today is Chris Donaldson. Really inspiring story. He's been in trucking 6 years. He's got a successful trucking company, but he had some really big obstacles to overcome. He's a convicted felon, and yet today he's running a successful business. He's even helping other people that have felonies, grow successful businesses, whether in trucking or elsewhere. It's just a really inspiring story. One of the things I really like about him is his attitude. He sees an obstacle that he has to overcome, and he just looks for ways to overcome that. He doesn't let things stop him when he, gets determined to do something. And I really love that mindset. So it's truly inspiring for me. So you're going to enjoy this talk anyway. He's a great guy, so I'm looking forward to you meeting him. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell me a little bit about your background. So you're, I said you were 6 years in the industry. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And tell me what type of freight are you running, so everybody kind of just get to know you a little bit, and then we'll go into your background.
All right, so currently I'm hauling reefer units. I have 2 trucks, 2 trailers. I started off with reefers. I did a little bit of car hauling, and I also did flatbed a little bit.
Oh, nice. So tell me about your background. So what were you doing before you got into the industry? And then I want to hear about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome.
All right, so before I started trucking, I was a manager at Chipotle. And then before that, I was actually incarcerated. So once I got out, the first thing I did was get a job, just to get a job. And that was Chipotle until I ran across trucking.
Okay, so how did you hear about it? How did you hear about the industry, and what made you pursue this? 'Cause that's a pretty radical career change.
Well, initially, I wasn't thinking about driving semis. I was actually going to start a business doing street sweepers where they clean the streets.
Okay.
And I knew I needed a Class B license for that. So while I was at Chipotle and I knew I was going to change gears, I was ready to start my business. I was looking into how I get my Class B. At Roadmaster, they convinced me to get my Class A, because Class A, you can do anything from Class A on down, but if you're Class B, you're going to have to go back to school to get the Class A. So once I started that process of Class A, I just fell in love with the semis. I was like, well, I'm already here, let me continue doing it.
Well, tell me about that experience. You said you have a felony in your background, and what was that like entering this industry with that kind of background? Did you have any problem coming in, or what kind of obstacles did you have to overcome because of that?
It all depends on your record. So for my charges was trafficking marijuana.
Okay.
So that's one of the kind of make people cringe when they see that record, because again, you're trafficking drugs, so they will think that you would probably traffic drugs with their truck. So the hardest obstacle I had for the first 2 years was somebody giving me an actual opportunity. So with me knowing that, I can't be too picky at the opportunities that come my way, because once you get that experience, that don't become a problem as much more.
Yeah. What are some ways that somebody that have a felony on their record could get information about how to start in this industry? Like what advice would you give those people?
Well, again, like I said, first it starts off with your charge. There's only the hardest charge I think that you have to worry about is if you're on a registry list. But besides that, I've seen.
Okay, wait a minute, Chris. What do you mean by? I know what you mean by registry, but in case somebody doesn't know what you mean by that, could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
So that's like child predators, rape, anything of that situation where you have to put yourself on the registry where you can't be around schools for a certain amount of feet. That is probably about the hardest charge you probably have to overcome in trucking. I don't see people after 10 years of being out, they have all the way up to murder and they're driving trucks. So it's not impossible. It just depends on your charge. There's a certain direction you have to go. Now, the process of getting into trucking is still the same as anybody else. It's just when you have a felon, it's about somebody giving you that opportunity. There's certain carriers that will give you that opportunity. The big carriers such as Trans Am, Western Express. I know Tyson, for example, they will hire you fresh out of school, but if you don't come to them right out of school, you have to wait 9 months.
Okay.
So those are things you learn. I learned that by actually talking to drivers, and even before you even go to school, you can call these big mega carriers, and they will tell you, they will wait on you. Some people will actually pay for your school, and then some people will just tell you the requirements. So go ahead and find out what company will hire you before you even start the process, because once you get those licenses, you want to go straight to work.
And so what was your experience? Did you have something lined up before you went to school, or what was your experience getting into school?
Well, I didn't know at the time, but no, I didn't have it lined up. I just knew I was ready to make a career change. I knew I just need to add value to myself, and with CDLs, that will be. Like, when I was at school, one of my counselors at the school was telling me, he seen my record, he told me I had to pay for school because no company would pay for my schooling, and the school wouldn't even finance me. So what I did was take out a loan. The school I went to at the time was $7,000. It cost $7,000. So I took out a loan. I invested in myself. I went to school, and the good thing about the school, they do have network where they know a lot of carriers. So they gave me a lot of applications. I filled out a lot of applications that they gave me, plus outside of their network. And the person that took me on was Trans Am. Trans Am, they are self-insured, so they able to hire people more than other people have limitations because of the insurance and other factors of why their business, how they're structured. So one thing I recommend is looking into a lot of self-insured companies. Those people have more freedom to take you on versus people that are not self-insured. That was my main obstacle, was getting my foot in the door, getting somebody to hire me. Once somebody hired me, the longer I worked, the more experience I got. The only question people was asking me was how much experience I had, not what my record was.
Okay, good. And how old were you when you got into the industry? Do you mind if I ask?
I was 27 when I got my license.
Okay.
And no, I take it back. Yeah, I was 26, 27, and I'm currently 33.
Okay, good. Well, and I know you have a passion for helping others that have similar backgrounds. Tell us a way that they could connect with you, and then I want to hear more of your story.
So as of right now, on Instagram, I have a page called Felon with a Purpose, where I guide felons, not just in trucking, just period. My main thing is when you get out of prison, you want to get a trade to add value to yourself. The more value you have, the more you'll stand out and separate you from the people that doesn't have a felon. I'm also working on a YouTube page and a Facebook page, but as of right now, you can find me on Instagram with Felon with a Purpose and TikTok Felon with a Purpose.
Okay, good. Love that. Yeah, I'm really excited to connect with you, and I'm going to get you on my website too, elotr.com, and I'll have in the show notes how people can get in touch with you if they have questions. And I think you're just a great resource, and you have a great attitude about it. So tell me about your background. So you left. So you were in prison, and you got a job at Chipotle. What kind of transition in the income was that for you? Was that really hard to make that choice to step into trucking because you didn't know how much the money was going to be? How did you make that decision if that was right for you? Because you're already in a management position at Chipotle, right?
Correct. I was a manager. I was only making about $800 every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I knew just by Googling and seeing what trucking made starting off, the entry level driver, they was making more than what I was making yearly.
Yeah.
And then I just did the math of what it would be weekly. And then I just knew over time it's all on. I knew I wanted to start my own business, and I couldn't start my business. I wasn't trying to be a cook for the rest of my life. I wasn't trying to start a restaurant. So
Right.
Anytime you have a plan on starting a business, you need to set yourself up, as in put yourself in that position. Everything you're doing should be lining up to what your end goal. So I need to change the career path, because if I wanted to start a trucking business, I need to be in trucking, whether I'm a company driver, dispatch, something in trucking, to at least get the understanding of the industry. Like again, once I got my first job at Trans Am, I was at Chipotle making $800 every 2 weeks. As soon as my first month, I was making $800 every week.
Nice.
So right there, I already doubled up my money. For me personally, yes, a lot of people might say, "Oh, that's not no money," but for me personally, I only had to make $1,000 a month. Because when I got out of prison, I moved back in with my family. I had a loving family where they required me not to pay rent. They didn't want me to go back to the old ways. They wanted me to get up on my feet. So my main thing is I didn't want to be a burden. Okay, I'm here not paying rent, so I need to get out here and work. Now, the great thing about trucking, I'm over the road, so I can't be a burden if I'm not there.
Right.
I'm going over the road a month and a half, and I only come home 4 days out the week. 4 days, and then I go right back out. So, and when I'm there, no, they're not paying for food, they're not paying for nothing. I'm not using utilities because I'm gone. So the less you are a burden, the more people are willing to help you. And then again, that was my family, and my family, they just want to see me succeed. So that was a big help with me not having to pay rent. That's one of mostly everybody's big personal expenses. So the only bills I had when I started trucking was my car payment, insurance, and a cell phone bill.
Yeah.
All that total up to less than $1,000. So again, I did my numbers. I'm a numbers man. I follow the numbers. I'm making $800 every 2 weeks. Now I'm making $800 a week. Almost one check can pay all my bills.
Nice.
The other 3 weeks' checks goes into savings. I use a little bit for food out here on the road, but while you over the road, a lot of people don't realize, over the road, when you're over the road, the only money you're spending is food.
Yeah.
But when you're home, you're spending gas, you're spending money on, if you're going out partying, that's money you're spending.
Yeah.
If you have taken your kids, your family out, you can only take them out when you're there.
Yeah.
So the more you're home, the more you spend, whether you know it or not, indirectly or directly. So the longer I stayed out on the road, the more I saved. So that's how I was able to save up $40,000 in a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Nice. One thing I love about your story, you had the support of your family, which is so great, but I know a lot of people don't have that. And I think listening to you share, like if somebody that's going over the road, you could sleep in your truck. I mean, you don't have to have a home base. I mean, so that's a great option for somebody that doesn't have, a home base where they want to go and check in with their family. And of course, that's not right for everybody, but for somebody that doesn't have a family that that is being as supportive as yours was, I mean, that truck is a great option for them.
Right, and you hit it on the head. So if you don't have family, friends, but you have that CDLs, well, again, you can eliminate a lot of your bills just like you said, sleeping in the truck.
Yeah.
If you're sleeping in your truck, I met a guy that did sleep in his truck with his wife. They slept in the truck for 6 months to a year.
Wow.
And they saved up so much money, they was able to go almost buy a whole fleet and it was team driving.
Nice.
So it's so many ways. You have to first look at your situation and evaluate. So I recommend, if you don't have friends or family and you have CDLs, I mean, if you can sleep in the truck, again, you can sleep in the truck for like you only have to do 3 months. 3 months should be enough money saved up for you to, if you want to go get a house or apartment or whatnot. I wouldn't recommend it because you're not home to even enjoy the house.
Yeah.
So unless you're local, you really don't need it. You don't need a house.
Yeah.
I mean, the truck is the house. So until you are local, I recommend sleeping in the truck. You have everything you need, refrigerators. Some companies provide TV in there. And then again, you travel in the world. You can see the world. You can go out. Once you start to save money, you can experience the several different things out here. Whatever you're interested in, you can go see it. So I do recommend that. That is a good option if you have no friends, no family, nobody to help you, but you got CDLs. That's not an excuse. Again, you can sleep in that truck. You have to sometimes make a sacrifice, do what you need to do to get to that end goal.
So what are you talked about your goals and your plans for your future and what you wanted to do in the industry. You started as a company driver. Tell us about your career path and the steps you've taken to become an owner-operator with your own authority, and then what are your plans for the future as well. I'd love to hear about all that.
All right, so, again, like I said, I've been driving about 6 years. I'm currently at 2 trucks, 2 trailers. Only reason I'm driving right now because I'm looking for another driver. Ultimately, I'm trying to build me a decent-sized fleet, at least 10 trucks I can build up to. Once I have those 10 trucks, then I take that money and I'm an entrepreneur, so I just take my money and keep trying to build. I'm already working on a truck washing business. And then also my main thing is giving back, and the way I give back is to help other felons, because as a felon, all the advice I got from people was non-felons. So the advice they're giving me is not really helpful because they're not in my shoes. A lot of people told me, you need to go back to school, which is hard for a felon in corporate America. A lot of people just told me, you just need to get a job. But when you have that record, the good paying jobs are not there. The best paying jobs I've seen are trades for a felon. So that's my number one thing. And in prison, they're not teaching you that. Prison is like a daycare. You're just in there. Yeah. So it's on you to get yourself right, and that calls for self-discipline. And everybody doesn't have that. So I know, like I said, as being a felon, the advice that's given, I've been there. I know what it takes to actually overcome those obstacles. So I feel like the best person to hear it from is another person that's been in your shoes. Yeah. So that's one of my passions and number one thing ultimately I want to do. I want to create a program to educate felons on how to come back into society, how to stay out of prison, how to regain control of their life. I also build a program and write a book to actually teach people. And then also, even if you're not a felon, the things you can learn, you can get a perspective of what a felon goes through, and family and friends could kind of understand, like, hey, you just can't tell somebody to get a job. It's not that easy. So that helps the family and friends see what they're going through and see how they can help their family and friend get control of their life.
Yeah, just so many resources you have. You're a great resource for other people that are trying to make a change. I love it. It's so great. Well, my show, is Enjoying Life OTR, so I'd like to hear about the different ways that, drivers are making the most of the opportunity to travel, and what are some fun things that you've been able to do because of this career choice, or maybe some experiences you've had over the road that you want to share with us?
Well, the main thing I love about over the road, I have families and friends over the country, so I'm able to make money and visit family and friends at any time. My sister stays in Atlanta. I pass through Atlanta every week, and one of the things that kind of gave me joy, my nephew, he see how I operate. He see I'm making money. He see I'm over the road, I'm living life, and he just told his teacher in class that he wanted to be a truck driver, and I'm the first truck driver in my family, so he had to get that just from seeing how I'm moving. So that's one thing that does bring me joy, to see that he's seeing how I'm moving, and I know he's not going to go down the wrong path that I did instead of making the right path. So that's one thing I enjoy. And then also, like I said, there's so many things to see out here in the world. Like, I've been to California, seen the museums, been to Las Vegas, the casino. So just whatever you like to do, you name it, it's out here. You just have to get in that truck and ride and get there and just plan it out. And once you plan it out, once you have the time, we don't always have the time, but once you have that time, like on a 34-hour break, get out of the truck, stretch your legs. I go to movie theaters by myself sometimes, malls, you name it. It's everything out here. It's whatever you're interested in, you just got to find it.
Well, I love that. That sounds so good. I like that too, about being able to visit family. Okay, so tell me this. Speaking about mentoring other people, have you had an opportunity to mentor anybody that's entering this industry, or have you had a chance to, work with somebody one-on-one that's had some success because of the story that you share with them?
Yes, actually, one of my closest friends, he never drove a truck at all, and he currently has 4 trucks, 3 trailers.
Nice.
And that's simply because, again, I did the lead work. I mean, I did the sacrifice. I did I learned everything that we needed to learn, and I told him, I was like, hey, man, the streets is not where it's at no more. Like, this is where it's at. He left the streets alone. He went and got all I told him. I said, just go ride with somebody. He rode with one of our other friends that had a truck. He rode with them to get the understanding of it. And then I just said, my thing is, I point you in the direction. You have to do the work. So I sent him videos on what he needed to learn. Only thing he did, he went and got a CDLs, but he never drove for a company. So after that, he went, he did his research. He started his own authority. He had enough money to get a truck. He had hired a driver, and then he slowly built. As he was going through the things he was going through, he'll call me. He'll be like, listen, hey, I'm having a problem with a broker. This is what I'm going through. How should I attack it? Should I do this, or should I walk away? So I'll tell him, like, no, the best way of handling the situation, and it's his choice. He got to listen to it or not. I mean, he listened to it, and the main thing, he knows me. I'm not going to tell him something that I wouldn't do. So he trusts my experience. He trusts my opinion. And well, like I said, he got 4 trucks, 3 trailers, and he's still growing. So
that's awesome. It's exciting. So you'd be willing to mentor somebody else if somebody approached you about helping them get started, or whether in trucking or something else? So you'd be willing to work with somebody one-on-one?
Oh, yes, I am, and that's the main thing. As long as they're willing to do the work, again, I'm just going to point you in the direction. I'm going to guide you. I'll give you tips, advice. Now, ultimately, it's on you to make the decision. It's ultimately on you to do the work. If I send you a video, you never watch the video, you call me back asking questions, it's not going to help you. So that's the main thing with me. I'm upfront, I'm truthful, I'm straightforward. You have to do the work. As long as you're willing to do the work, I'm willing to help.
I love that. And I find that's true for so many people. Like, people tell me they have a hard time finding a mentor. I'm like, what you just shared is the key to finding a good mentor. Because you want to find somebody that has some, something similar to your background and that's willing to give up their time and advice. But if you're not willing to do it, that person doesn't want to invest in you. Because it's very rewarding to help somebody, right?
It doesn't cost me nothing to tell you what I know.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost me nothing. I'm not losing nothing. I mean, I want to see everybody win. You're not taking no money out of me because you go get a truck. I mean, there's so much freight out here. There's plenty of money out here. Yeah. So I'm not losing nothing from telling you what I learned. And then I was raised always, once you learn something, you pass it forward. Somebody taught you, you should pass it forward. Yeah. So I definitely have a problem with that. But the main thing when I see people, they want help, but they really want people to tell them, you need to do this and steps by steps, but that's not how business goes.
Yeah.
Like, you have to understand your business, you have to know your business, because everybody knows you always have to adjust. You can't get comfortable. So if I'm telling you and I'm doing all the work for you, how are you going to know what to do and how to adjust if you always have somebody doing the work for you? That means I know everything, and you're always going to be reliable on me. And that opens the door for me to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing. So I always recommend anything you're doing, you need to understand at least the basis of it, because that will eliminate people from scamming you and getting over them.
Okay, so many things I want to talk about with you. Okay, so have you considered doing a nonprofit and opening a nonprofit?
But that's what I'm looking to. It's just I've been having this trucking business. It's demanding time. So
It is.
I'm trying to get it basically operating on automatic mode.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm basically doing it all. So
Yeah.
that's why it's kind of hard for me to like put 100% into the felon with a purpose, because I got to make sure this is where I make my money. So
Yeah, I
I got to
understand
get this right, and then I can't help anybody else until I help myself. So I got to make sure everything
I'm right there with you.
once everything is in order to where it can run, I have somebody there running it, I'm making money, and then I can transition and be 100% in it. All I knew right now, I have a story, and I know my story is powerful and it can touch a lot of people. So I'm just trying to see, right? Like I said, I just started like putting it out there probably about 6 months ago, starting to put my story out there, because one thing I realized with people, they're not going to believe you unless you're already there.
Yeah, you got to tell the story.
I knew I had a story when I got my CDL.
Yeah.
But I wasn't willing to put it out there yet because I had nothing to show for it.
Yeah, so smart.
Like I said, I definitely will be keeping touch with you in the future, because, like I said, I like your energy, I like your vibe.
Yeah, same for you.
You're willing to help, and like I said, that's my main thing. I like to network. Any knowledge you have that I can take on, I'm always open ears. But like I said, with the fellow with a purpose, I don't have the main thing. I just knew, like, let me put it on Instagram right now. I know I just wanted to start to build my following base.
Yeah.
So once I have the program set up, because the next thing I'm working on is interviewing different trades. I'm trying to find a lot of felons that own their own businesses and trade,
so smart. Yep.
and then start interviewing them, and then I know specific questions to ask for, because I know what we're looking for. So that's what I'm working on now. Then hopefully end goal is to, like, I want to go into prisons, and I want to go into like juvenile programs, facilities, and catch the trouble kids. And because again, a lot of them don't know, like, hey man, you can make the same money you selling drugs, driving a truck.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
I thought that too when you were sharing your story. I thought, you could go into, the high schools and things and start sharing your stories.
That's my end goal. That's what I want to do. Ultimately, I want to become like a motivational speaker for, troubled youth, and again for convicted felons, people that's having a hard time transitioning. And then again, it's not just for felons, because like you said, you have a family member, a friend that just about everybody has at least a friend or a family member that has been convicted or has been in trouble with the law. Yeah. So even if your friend doesn't know about me, you know about me. The information you get from me, you could pass that on. So it's not just for felons. That's my content to help felons. But again, family and friends, they can get my content, and they, instead of me helping them, they can help their own family and friends just by off the content of me. And then also, again, it opens up a perspective of what felons go through. So, because I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, he's just a bum when he comes out. He's not doing nothing. But sometimes you don't realize, like, he probably is doing it, but some people just not giving him that opportunity. Yeah. And then there is some that just not doing what they're supposed to do.
Sure.
But the more you have that perspective of that person, what they're going through, their charges, the more you're able to help them out and guide them to the better, to guide them to help them get, again, control of their life.
So good, love it, so great. Yeah, we need to stay in touch for sure. I really love your passion for this. It's so great, and even your entrepreneurial spirit. My business, my trucking company. I've been trucking for 2 years, but my passion is my website, elotr.com, and my podcast. I love both of those things. I care a lot about that. I care a lot about truckers and sharing their stories. Like, those are really, I'm passionate about that, and just having a place for us to network. And there's just so many challenges in the industry, and it can get burnout real easy. And so I love to speak to those things. And so many great things are happening over the road, and people just don't get to hear their stories. So I love sharing their stories. So, but
I like it. Yeah, I like your podcast because, again, a lot of people don't they don't do their research before coming in the industry.
Yeah.
They just think, oh, get a truck, I'm gonna make a lot killing of money, or trucking, I can. They just think I can just drive for 2 days and come home and stuff like that. And I feel like your podcast will open up eyes to what we go through, not just the bad, but the good too.
Yeah.
So you can actually know exactly what you're getting into before you actually make that transition.
Yeah, and even your attitude as an entrepreneur, the way you look for opportunities, I think that's so great. It's such a great part of your personality, and not everybody is an entrepreneur, and I don't think you have to be successful, but just a different way to look at life and looking at what's a problem that I could solve, and it's just a great attitude.
Appreciate it. I mean, you gotta have a positive attitude. You can't be pessimistic, because if you do that, it's gonna stop you from doing whatever you want to do in life. So, I mean, I what I do is I plan for the worst, I hope for the best.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm prepared on both sides. Like, I mean, I'm gonna go in with a positive attitude. I hope everything goes good, but we know nothing goes as planned. So you can't let whatever doesn't go as planned bring you down, because while you over here focusing on the negative, there's things that you could be doing to adjust to get out of that negative, make it a positive, turn your weaknesses into strengths. So it's just about how you look at life.
So great. I really love your attitude, Chris, and I like the way that you put yourself on a journey. You have a goal in mind where you want to go, and you're willing to invest in your own future, like the way you paid for your own school and you went out and got a loan, and you just, whatever the obstacle is, you just seem like, I'm going to overcome that. And it's one of the things that really inspiring about your story, because we all have struggles. Our stories may be slightly different, but we all have obstacles to overcome, and I think your story is just a great story, just to inspire people just to keep plugging on and doing the work.
I appreciate that. I mean, again, like I said, you gotta have positive mindset. Like I say, after coming out of prison, I mean, to me that was the rock bottom. So it's nothing but up from there, as long as you do the work. I know I had to put the best foot forward, 100% forward. As long as I do that, God will reward you. So it's all on you at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I appreciate you for taking the time out to listen to my story. I hope this helps somebody out. And like I said, if anybody have questions, you can find me on Fellow with a Purpose, and hopefully I'll be on your website soon to help mentor anybody that have any questions.
Well, thanks so much. You be safe out there and enjoy your journey.
All right, you too.
Well, thanks for coming along on the show. Don't forget to check out our new app, Enjoying Life OTR. Thanks so much for all you do. I sure appreciate you. Y'all be safe out there, and by all means, enjoy the journey.